Have you ever had this strange feeling? You hear a piece of music you loved years ago, and for a moment you're transported back. You remember where you were, who you were with, and what you felt. The music seems to unlock a part of your memory that nothing else can reach. But then you wonder, why doesn't the music feel like that anymore? Why does something that once felt powerful and mysterious or just unforgettable sometimes feel like just another thing competing for our attention? Because something has changed. And I think that it isn't just the music, but more importantly, the way we experience it. You see, 200 years ago, for example, if you wanted to hear a concert, you had to be there. You might wait months for the opportunity. You might even travel miles. Live music was just much more rare unless you yourself knew how to play, and the average person just didn't know how to play an instrument. So when those first notes sounded, everyone in that room understood something that is much harder to experience today. They understood that this moment would never happen again. You see, today we have access to more music than any generation in human history. Millions of songs instantly available, and you can listen to them almost anywhere you want and any time you want. And yet somehow music feels different, maybe even less magical. And I've been wondering, why is that? What I've realized is that for most of human history, music was not something you consumed. Heck, using the word consumed would have sounded bizarre even 20 years ago. We used to just say, listen. We listened to music. Music was something more active, something that actually happened. A performance existed only in that moment. For example, if you heard Mozart perform a piano concerto, you couldn't simply replay it the next day. There was no recording, no streaming. There was just no way you could capture the sound and experience it again whenever you wanted, like you can today. You could try to play it yourself, but remember, it's likely that you don't know how to play. Or more likely, you would just have to wait for another performance because after that day, the music just disappeared. And that gave it something we rarely experience today, or at least don't experience as often: importance. When something is rare, we tend to pay attention. Back then, you walk into a candlelit concert hall and get ready to hear a new piece of music performed for the first time. Or maybe if you knew someone who was an amateur musician, you and their family would gather around a piano in their home, and maybe you sang along with them, or maybe you sang in a choir, or maybe you heard music at some sort of event. But often music was connected to a place or time. It certainly wasn't background music. That would come much, much later. And even until recently, really the 21st century, background music wasn't as much of a thing as it is now. Music wasn't something that just filled the silences as we did something else. It was often much more of an event. But then something extraordinary happened. We learned how to capture sound. And for the first time in history, music could escape the moment. That's a great thing in many ways if you think about it. A singer could be heard after they died, a performance could travel across the world. Music students could endlessly analyze master performances against a score. Garage bands could listen to their favorite artists and learn to imitate their style of playing. Now, I'm not going to say that recording technology destroyed music. I don't think that's correct. It gave us access to performances our ancestors could only dream of. But every great invention changes the way we experience the world, and every miracle has a cost. Because when something becomes unlimited, it has the danger of becoming ordinary or commonplace. Today, music follows us everywhere. Sometimes we do choose it, but a lot of the time it's just there all the time. We hear it while shopping, in an elevator, when boarding an airplane. I mean, sometimes we choose to listen when exercising or working, even when scrolling through our phones or working on something else on the computer. And much more rarely, we go to an actual concert. And that creates a strange paradox. The more available music becomes, the less attention we tend to give it. A song or a piece of music used to ask something from us: time, focus, just a little bit more presence in the moment. But today, music often just happens to fit into our lives. We need it, sure, but at the same time, we don't always care too much about it because it's just filling silences. I think in large part, music has gone from something we stopped everything to experience to something that's constantly happening around us. I wonder if the problem isn't so much that music has become less powerful as that we've stopped appreciating it because we haven't given it the conditions it needs to affect us. What's probably obvious to you is that a great piece of music or a great song was never designed to be understood instantly. It was designed to be discovered. I mean, can you imagine Beethoven in this TikTok world? A Beethoven symphony is not like a 3-minute video designed to capture your attention immediately. It unfolds slowly. Beethoven even makes good use of silences to build drama. His music takes time, and it should, but his music also builds expectations and it rewards patience. The first time you hear it, you might not understand everything, and that's okay as long as you're willing to put in the time to appreciate it. Because maybe after the 5th, 6th, 7th time, you start noticing things that you didn't notice before. Its patterns, its motives, its harmonies, they start to affect you on a deeper level. And by now, you're probably wondering if modern listening habits often work in the opposite direction. Because we've been trained like Pavlov's dogs to subconsciously ask, do I like this immediately? In the first 5 seconds, is there some reaction? And that is, instead of asking probably the better question, what is this trying to show me? Like I said in a recent video, we've become incredibly adept at consuming music, but maybe we've become worse at actually listening to it. So I've heard some people wondering out loud if music has become less meaningful, both recently composed music as well as the classics. Personally, I don't think so. In fact, I think the opposite is probably true. Music is more available than ever before. More people can experience great performances than at any point in history. And I don't think that's inherently bad. But maybe the thing we've lost isn't music. Maybe we've lost the moment. It's harder to have patience and anticipation to allow time for the music to slowly make that impact. We may be less willing to accept that anticipation, the feeling that something important is about to happen. And the good and bad news is that although we unknowingly trained ourselves into this, we can find a way out of this. So the next time you'd like to listen to music, try something really simple. Don't put it on as background music, as some sort of wallpaper while you do something else. Just listen. Because perhaps music never stopped being special. Perhaps we just stopped treating it that way. But I'd love to know your thoughts. Don't forget to leave a comment and don't forget to like the video. Thanks so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.